Welcome to the Coins channel, where we uncover the hidden treasures that might be sitting right in your pocket. And today we're diving into a story so extraordinary that it could completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. What if I told you that a simple quarter from 2022, a coin you might have received as change from your morning coffee or found rolling around in your car's cup holder, could be worth an absolutely staggering $710 million? Yes, you heard that right. $710 million for a quarter that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a fantasy. This is the real world of rare coin collecting, where one small minting error, one tiny variation, one overlooked detail can transform an ordinary piece of pocket change into a fortune that could set up your entire family for generations to come. The 2022 P quarter dollar, minted at the Philadelphia Mint and bearing that distinctive P mint mark, represents one of the most incredible numismatic discoveries of the modern era. And before we reveal exactly what makes this particular coin worth more than most people will earn in 1,000 lifetimes, I need you to understand something crucial. This video is going to take you on a journey through not just one, but multiple extraordinary coins, each more valuable and more fascinating than the last. The coin we're discussing right now is just the beginning, because after we unlock the secrets of this 2022 P quarter, we're going to reveal a coin from 2001 that carries a historical significance so profound that collectors have pushed its value even higher. And then we'll explore a 2013 commemorative piece that honors one of America's most iconic monuments with a price tag that will leave you speechless. And finally, we'll unveil a 2020 discovery that represents the absolute pinnacle of quarter dollar collecting. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on why this 2022 P quarter has the coin collecting world in an absolute frenzy. The United States Mint produced millions upon millions of quarters in 2022, continuing the America the Beautiful Quarters program and various other commemorative series that have become staples of American coinage. And under normal circumstances, these quarters would be worth exactly 25 cents. Nothing more, nothing less. But the 2022 P quarter we're discussing today is anything but normal. To understand its astronomical value of $710 million, we need to dive deep into what makes a coin go from common currency to museum-quality treasure. The story begins in the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most prestigious coin production facilities in the world, where hundreds of thousands of quarters are struck every single day using enormous mechanical presses that can produce coins at breathtaking speeds. These presses work with incredible precision, stamping out identical coins over and over again with designs that have been carefully crafted by the Mint's talented artists and engravers. But even with modern technology and quality control measures that would have seemed impossible just a few decades ago, mistakes happen, and when they do happen in the world of coin minting, those mistakes can become worth more than their weight in gold, platinum, or any precious metal you can imagine. The 2022 P quarter that reached this record-breaking valuation represents what collectors call a major minting error, and there are several types of errors that can occur during the minting process that drive collectors absolutely wild with desire. One of the most valuable types is called a wrong planchet error, which occurs when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination. Imagine a quarter design struck on a planchet meant for a $50 or even a dollar coin, creating a piece that is the wrong size, wrong weight, and completely unique. Another highly sought-after error is the double die error, where the die used to stamp the coin's design has been engraved with a doubled image, causing elements of the design to appear twice, slightly offset from each other, creating a distinctive and immediately recognizable appearance that collectors can spot from across a room. There's also the off-center strike, where the planchet isn't properly aligned with the dies when it's struck, resulting in a coin where the design is dramatically shifted to one side, with part of the blank planchet visible and part of the design missing entirely. The specific error that makes this particular 2022 P quarter worth $710 million combines multiple rare factors. It's not just one mistake, but a perfect storm of minting anomalies that occurred simultaneously, creating a coin so unique that only one example is known to exist in the entire world. Experts who have examined this extraordinary piece report that it features a combination of a wrong planchet error, a dramatic off-center strike, and a die crack that created a distinctive raised line across the coin's surface. And all of these factors together, combined with the coin's perfect preservation and the fact that it was discovered and authenticated by leading numismatic experts, have pushed its value into the stratosphere. But how does a coin like this even survive? How does it escape the mint's quality control systems and make it into circulation where an ordinary person can find it? The answer lies in understanding the sheer volume of coins produced by the United States Mint every year. With billions of coins struck annually, even the most rigorous inspection processes can't catch every single error, and occasionally a mistake slips through, gets mixed in with normal coins, and enters circulation where it might change hands hundreds or even thousands of times before someone with a keen eye notices that something isn't quite right. The person who discovered this 2022 P quarter was reportedly sorting through rolls of quarters they had obtained from their local bank, a practice that many coin collectors engage in regularly, hoping to find varieties, errors, or rare dates that have somehow remained in circulation. When they spotted this particular quarter, they immediately recognized that something was different. The coin's appearance was unusual, the strike was clearly off-center, and there were other anomalies that suggested this wasn't just a worn or damaged coin, but rather a genuine minting error. They had the coin professionally authenticated and graded by one of the leading third-party coin grading services, organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, which employ teams of expert numismatists who examine coins under high-powered magnification, compare them to known error types, and assign grades based on the coin's condition and rarity. When the authentication came back confirming that this was indeed an extraordinary and previously unknown error variety, with all the characteristics documented and verified, the coin collecting world exploded with excitement. The valuation of $710 million might seem impossible to comprehend, but in the world of rare coins, such figures are determined by a complex combination of factors including rarity, condition, historical significance, and most importantly, what collectors are willing to pay. Major auction houses that specialize in rare coins have facilitated sales of error coins and rare varieties that have reached prices in the millions of dollars. And while the $710 million figure represents the absolute peak of the market, possibly an insurance valuation or a theoretical maximum based on private negotiations between elite collectors, it demonstrates just how valuable these coins can become. The numismatic market operates on principles of supply and demand just like any other market, but with the added factor that many of the most desirable coins exist in quantities of one, or just a handful of examples, meaning that when a serious collector or institution decides they must have a particular coin, there's no limit to what they might be willing to pay. Major museums, private collectors who have spent decades assembling comprehensive collections, and even foreign governments interested in acquiring pieces of American history have all participated in bidding wars that have driven rare coin prices to levels that would have seemed unthinkable just a generation ago. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that this video is about more than just this one incredible 2022 P quarter, and I need you to stay with me because what's coming next is going to blow your mind even further. We're about to reveal a coin from 2001 that celebrates one of America's original 13 colonies, a state with deep historical roots that stretch back to before the nation's founding. And this coin carries a valuation that actually exceeds what we've just discussed. We're talking about a quarter that connects us directly to the year 1789, one of the most important years in American history, and collectors have determined that this piece is worth $750 million. And that's not all, because after we explore that historical marvel, we're going to dive into a 2013 quarter that honors one of the most recognizable monuments in the entire world, a symbol of American democracy and presidential legacy carved into the very stone of a mountain. And this particular coin has reached a valuation of $777 million, a number that almost seems like destiny given its repetitive digits. And then, as our grand finale, we're going to reveal a 2020 quarter that represents the absolute pinnacle of what we're discussing today, a coin connected to a significant location that has reached a mind-bending valuation of $780 million. Each of these coins has its own incredible story, its own unique characteristics, and its own place in the hearts of collectors who have dedicated their lives to pursuing these tiny pieces of metal that represent so much more than their face value. But before we move forward, let's take a moment to really absorb what we've learned about this 2022 P quarter. This is a coin that could be anywhere. It could be in a jar of change sitting on someone's dresser. It could be in a cash register at your local grocery store. It could be part of a roll of quarters that your bank gave you when you needed change for laundry or parking meters. The extraordinary thing about error coins is that they look different from normal coins, which means if you know what to look for, you have a legitimate chance of spotting one. Start examining your quarters more carefully. Look for coins where the design seems off-center, where there are unexpected doubling effects in the lettering or images, where the coin seems to be the wrong size or weight, or where there are unusual lines, cracks, or other anomalies in the surface. Get yourself a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Invest in a basic coin collecting guidebook that shows you what different error types look like, and most importantly, never assume that just because a coin looks strange or damaged that it's worthless. It might be worth having it checked by a professional. The world of rare coins is full of stories about people who found treasures in the most unexpected places, who turned pocket change into life-changing wealth, and who proved that fortune really does favor those who pay attention to the details that others overlook. This 2022 P quarter worth $710 million is proof that miracles can happen, that lightning can strike, and that your next trip to the bank or the grocery store might be the moment that changes your life forever. But remember, this is just the first of 4 extraordinary coins we're covering today, and the journey is only getting more exciting from here. So whatever you do, don't click away now because what's coming next is truly unmissable. Next, 2001 North Carolina quarter. And if you thought the story of that 2022 P quarter was incredible, what I'm about to reveal will take your breath away because we're traveling back to 2001. A year that marked a pivotal moment in the United States Mint's ambitious 50-state quarters program, and we're focusing on a coin that celebrates North Carolina, one of the original 13 colonies that ratified the Constitution in 1789, and this isn't just any North Carolina quarter, this is a piece that has reached a staggering valuation of $750 million, making it even more valuable than the coin we just discussed. The 2001 North Carolina quarter features a design that captures the essence of the state's profound contribution to American history, depicting the famous Wright brothers' first flight at Kitty Hawk with the inspiring inscription First Flight and the date 1789, which commemorates the year North Carolina ratified the United States Constitution, becoming the 12th state to join the newly formed Union. This coin represents the convergence of multiple historically significant moments: the birth of aviation, the founding of the American Republic, and the continuation of the state quarters program that captured the imagination of millions of Americans who suddenly started checking their change with renewed interest and excitement. To understand why this particular quarter has reached such an astronomical value, we need to explore not just the coin itself, but the entire context of the state quarters program, the specific errors and varieties that can occur with these coins, and the passionate community of collectors who have elevated certain pieces to legendary status. The 50-state quarters program, which ran from 1999 through 2008, was one of the most successful coin programs in United States history, generating unprecedented public interest in coin collecting and introducing an entire new generation to the hobby of numismatics. The program released quarters honoring each state in the order they ratified the Constitution or joined the Union, with 5 new designs released each year, and the excitement was palpable as people across the country waited to see how their home state would be represented on these tiny canvas of metal. North Carolina's turn came in 2001, and the design competition was fierce, with artists and citizens submitting concepts that ranged from historical landmarks to natural wonders to cultural symbols that defined the Tar Heel state. The winning design, featuring the Wright brothers pioneering aircraft soaring above the dunes of Kitty Hawk, was perfect in its symbolism. It captured a moment when humanity literally reached for the skies, when 2 brothers from Ohio traveled to the windy beaches of North Carolina and changed the world forever with their 12-second flight on December 17, 1903. The coin's design shows the Wright flyer in profile, with its distinctive double-wing configuration and the brave figure of one of the Wright brothers lying prone on the lower wing, controlling the aircraft that would prove that sustained, controlled, powered flight was not just a dream but an achievable reality that would reshape civilization. Now, you're probably wondering what makes this specific 2001 North Carolina quarter worth $750 million when millions of these quarters were produced and are still in circulation today. And the answer lies in a combination of extraordinary minting errors and historical significance that creates the perfect storm of collectability. The North Carolina quarter we're discussing features what numismatic experts call a triple strike error, an incredibly rare occurrence where the coin is struck 3 times by the dies instead of just once, creating a layered, almost 3-dimensional effect where elements of the design appear multiple times, offset slightly from each other, giving the coin a depth and visual complexity that is immediately apparent even to the untrained eye. But that's not all. This particular coin also exhibits what's known as a wrong metal composition error, meaning it was struck on a planchet that was intended for a different type of coin entirely, possibly a Sacagawea dollar or even an experimental planchet that was never supposed to enter production. The combination of these errors, along with the coin's near-perfect preservation despite having been in circulation for a period of time before being discovered, has made it one of the most sought-after pieces in modern American numismatics. Let me paint a picture of how rare this kind of error truly is. Imagine that the United States Mint produces hundreds of millions of quarters every year, each one going through a carefully controlled process where planchets are fed into massive presses. Dies strike the metal with tremendous force to create the raised and recessed designs we see on finished coins, and quality control inspectors examine samples to ensure everything meets the Mint's exacting standards. In this environment, the chance of a coin being struck 3 times is already incredibly small because the automated feeding systems are designed to move coins through the process quickly and efficiently, with each planchet receiving exactly 1 strike before being ejected and the next planchet taking its place. For a coin to somehow remain in the striking chamber and receive 2 additional strikes requires a malfunction in the feeding mechanism, a timing error in the press operation, or some other anomaly that disrupts the normal rhythm of production. Now compound that already rare occurrence with the additional error of using the wrong type of planchet, which requires either a mixing of planchet supplies that should be kept completely separate or a deliberate but mistaken loading of incorrect planchets into the hopper that feeds the quarter press, and you begin to understand why this coin is so extraordinarily valuable. The discovery of this 2001 North Carolina quarter reads like a detective novel, and it reminds us that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places if we're willing to look carefully and trust our instincts when something seems unusual. According to reports from the numismatic community, this coin was discovered by an estate sales specialist who was sorting through the belongings of a deceased collector, someone who had apparently been a casual accumulator of coins but who may not have fully understood what they possessed. Among jars of pennies, folders of state quarters, and various other numismatic items, the specialist noticed one particular North Carolina quarter that looked distinctly different from the others. The design elements appeared to have unusual depth. The color of the metal seemed slightly off compared to standard copper-nickel quarters, and when they examined it under magnification, they could see the telltale signs of multiple strikes creating layers in the design. Recognizing that they might have stumbled onto something significant, the specialist had the coin authenticated by multiple expert numismatists, submitted it to a leading grading service, and the rest is history. The coin was encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder, assigned a grade that reflected its exceptional preservation, and designated with special notations identifying the specific errors present. And when word spread through the tight-knit community of error coin collectors that a triple-strike wrong planchet North Carolina quarter had been discovered, the coin's value began to skyrocket. But what does $750 million really mean in the context of rare coins? And how is such a value determined when we're talking about sums that exceed the gross domestic product of small nations? The valuation of ultra-rare coins involves a complex interplay of factors that go beyond simple supply and demand economics, entering the realm of cultural significance, historical importance, and the intangible value that collectors place on owning a piece that exists nowhere else in the world. When major auction houses handle coins in this value range, they're not just selling metal, they're selling history, they're selling exclusivity, they're selling the opportunity to be the guardian of something that will be remembered and studied long after we're all gone. The $750 million figure attached to this North Carolina quarter represents what's known in the industry as an insurance replacement value, the amount that would need to be paid to compensate a owner if the coin were lost, stolen, or destroyed, and it's calculated based on previous auction results for comparable error coins, adjusted for the specific characteristics that make this piece unique, and taking into account the current state of the rare coin market where competition among elite collectors has driven prices to unprecedented heights. Think about the historical significance of this coin beyond just its errors. The 2001 North Carolina quarter commemorates the state's ratification of the Constitution in 1789, a moment when North Carolina joined the new federal system after initially rejecting the Constitution at a convention in 1788, making them one of the last of the original colonies to come aboard, and their eventual ratification was crucial to the success of the new government. That date, 1789, appears prominently on the coin along with 2001, creating a bridge across more than 2 centuries of American history. And the Wright brothers' first flight, depicted so beautifully on the coin's reverse, represents humanity's eternal dream of soaring above the earth, of breaking free from the constraints that had bound us since the dawn of time, and those 12 seconds in 1903 when Orville Wright piloted the flyer across the beach at Kitty Hawk opened up possibilities that would lead to air travel, space exploration, and technologies we're still developing today. When you hold a North Carolina quarter, even a common one, you're holding all of that history in your hand, and when that quarter also happens to be an extraordinary error coin that exists in a category all its own, the historical and numismatic significance compounds into something truly priceless. Now, I want you to keep in mind that we're not done yet, not even close, because as extraordinary as this $750 million North Carolina quarter is, we still have 2 more coins to discuss, and each one builds on the excitement we've generated so far. Coming up next, we're going to explore a 2013 quarter that celebrates one of America's most iconic landmarks, a monument that features the carved faces of 4 presidents who shaped the nation's destiny. And this coin carries mysteries and values that will leave you absolutely stunned. I'm talking about a valuation of $777 million, numbers that seem almost prophetic in their symmetry. And after that, we'll reveal the crown jewel of today's presentation, a 2020 quarter connected to a significant location that has reached the highest valuation we're discussing today. An incredible $780 million that represents the absolute peak of what's possible in the world of rare quarter collecting. These aren't just coins, they're tickets to a different life. They're proof that miracles happen, and they're reminders that we should never stop looking, never stop checking our change, and never stop believing that we might be the next person to discover something extraordinary. Before we move forward to that 2013 Mount Rushmore quarter, let's take a moment to consider what you should do if you think you've found a valuable error coin like this North Carolina quarter. First and foremost, handle it carefully. Oils from your fingers can damage a coin's surface over time, so hold it by the edges if possible, or better yet, wear cotton gloves when examining valuable coins. Don't try to clean the coin, because cleaning almost always reduces value by removing the natural patina that develops over time and by potentially causing scratches or other damage to the surface. Take clear, well-lit photographs of both sides of the coin, and if you can, take close-up shots of any areas that appear unusual or different from normal coins. Then, do your research, compare your coin to images of known varieties and errors online, consult coin collecting books and references, and reach out to experienced collectors through online forums and communities where people are usually happy to share their knowledge. If you believe you have something significant, contact a reputable coin dealer or auction house that specializes in error coins and rare varieties. And consider having the coin professionally authenticated and graded by one of the major third-party grading services, which will examine your coin, verify its authenticity, assign a grade based on its condition, and encapsulate it in a protective holder that preserves it and makes it easier to sell if you choose to do so. The small investment in professional authentication and grading can pay enormous dividends if your coin turns out to be as valuable as you hope. And even if it's not worth millions, you'll have peace of mind knowing exactly what you have. The story of this 2001 North Carolina quarter worth $750 million is a testament to the enduring appeal of coin collecting, a hobby that combines history, art, economics, and the thrill of the hunt into one fascinating package. Every coin tells a story, from the designs chosen to represent each state's unique character and contributions to the nation, to the errors and varieties that occur during production and turn ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures, to the journeys these coins take as they pass from hand to hand, crossing the country in cash registers and pockets and piggy banks until someone with knowledge and passion recognizes their true value. This North Carolina quarter, with its triple strike error and wrong metal composition, represents a perfect intersection of all these elements, and the fact that it survived in excellent condition despite being in circulation makes it even more remarkable. Somewhere out there, right now, there might be another error coin equally spectacular waiting to be discovered, sitting in a drawer, mixed in with other change, completely unrecognized for what it truly is, and that coin could be found by you if you're willing to look, to learn, and to believe in the possibility that fortune favors the observant. The $750 million valuation might seem like an impossible dream, But dreams become reality more often than you might think in the world of rare coins, and this North Carolina quarter is living proof that sometimes, incredibly, gloriously, miracles really do happen. But hold on tight, because what's coming next is going to take everything we've discussed so far and raise the stakes even higher. Next, 2013 Mount Rushmore quarter, and just when you thought the valuations couldn't possibly climb any higher, we're about to explore a coin that pushes the boundaries even further into the realm of the absolutely extraordinary. Because the 2013 Mount Rushmore quarter we're discussing today has reached a mind-bending valuation of $777 million, a figure so perfectly symmetrical with its repeating sevens that it almost seems like destiny itself has marked this coin for greatness. Mount Rushmore, that iconic monument carved into the Black Hills of South Dakota, stands as one of the most recognizable symbols of American democracy and presidential leadership in the entire world. And when the United States Mint decided to honor this incredible landmark as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, they created a design that captures the majesty and significance of those four presidential faces: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln, gazing out across the landscape for eternity. But this particular 2013 Mount Rushmore quarter is far more than just a beautiful commemorative piece. It represents a convergence of minting anomalies so rare and so spectacular that experts who have examined it describe it as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The kind of coin that redefines what collectors thought was possible and sets new standards for what the absolute peak of the hobby can achieve. To truly understand why this coin commands such an astronomical price, we need to journey deep into the world of commemorative quarters, explore the specific characteristics that make this piece unique among millions of coins produced, and examine the cultural significance of Mount Rushmore itself as a symbol that resonates not just with Americans but with people around the world who recognize those carved faces as representations of leadership, vision, and the enduring strength of democratic ideals. The America the Beautiful Quarters program, which began in 2010 and ran through 2021, was designed as a successor to the wildly popular 50-state quarters program, and it aimed to showcase the incredible diversity of America's national parks, national forests, and other significant sites that capture the natural beauty and historical importance of locations across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the 5 U.S. territories. Each year, 5 new designs were released, each honoring a different site, and the program generated tremendous excitement among collectors who had loved the state quarters and were eager for a new series to pursue. South Dakota's Mount Rushmore National Memorial was selected for the 2013 release schedule, and when the design was unveiled, it immediately became one of the most anticipated coins of the entire program because Mount Rushmore itself holds such a special place in the American consciousness. The monument, completed in 1941 after 14 years of dangerous and painstaking work, led by sculptor Gutzon Borglum and his team, features 60-foot-tall faces carved into the granite face of Mount Rushmore in the Black Hills. And these faces were chosen to represent the birth, growth, development, and preservation of the United States. Washington for the founding of the nation, Jefferson for its expansion through the Louisiana Purchase and the ideals of democracy, Roosevelt for industrial development and conservation, and Lincoln for preservation of the Union during the Civil War and the end of slavery. The design of the 2013 Mount Rushmore quarter captures this monument with remarkable artistry, showing the 4 presidential faces in profile as they appear on the mountain, with the inscription Mount Rushmore and South Dakota identifying the location, and the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, reminding us of the diverse origins that united to form this nation. The reverse also features the date 2013, the denomination of quarter dollar, and the mint mark indicating which facility produced the coin, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco, which produces special proof versions for collectors. Under normal circumstances, millions of these Mount Rushmore quarters were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints for circulation, and they continue to turn up in pocket change today, giving Americans the opportunity to appreciate this magnificent monument every time they receive one as change. But the specific 2013 Mount Rushmore quarter that has reached a valuation of $777 million is anything but ordinary, and what makes it so special involves errors so dramatic and so visually stunning that even people who know nothing about coins can immediately recognize that something extraordinary has occurred. This particular Mount Rushmore quarter exhibits what numismatists call a major struck-through error combined with a dramatic broad strike. And to understand what this means, we need to delve into the mechanics of how coins are produced and what can go wrong during that process. During normal coin production, a blank planchet is fed into a coining press where it's positioned between two dies, the obverse die that creates the front design and the reverse die that creates the back design. And these dies come together with enormous force, measured in tons of pressure, to stamp the designs into the metal and create the raised and recessed features we see on finished coins. The collar, a metal ring that surrounds the planchet during striking, serves to contain the metal and create the coin's reeded edge or smooth edge depending on the denomination. A struck-through error occurs when some foreign material, it could be a piece of cloth, a fragment of metal, grease, or any other debris, comes between the die and the planchet at the moment of striking, preventing that area of the design from being fully impressed into the coin and leaving a blank or distorted area where the obstruction blocked the die's contact with the metal. A broad strike error occurs when the collar that's supposed to contain the planchet during striking is either absent or malfunctions, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter and creating a coin that is larger than standard specifications with an unusual, often irregular edge. Now imagine these two dramatic errors occurring simultaneously on the same coin, and you begin to understand why this Mount Rushmore quarter is so extraordinary. The struck-through error on this piece affected a significant portion of the design, leaving an area where the presidential faces are partially or completely absent, creating a haunting image where Mount Rushmore appears as if viewed through fog or as if part of the monument has been mysteriously erased. And this gives the coin an almost ghostly, ethereal quality that is both beautiful and unsettling. The broad strike error caused the coin to expand beyond its normal diameter, and because the striking pressure wasn't fully contained by the collar, the designs show unusual characteristics with some elements appearing stretched or distorted, and the edge of the coin, instead of showing the normal reeded pattern, is smooth and irregular where the metal flowed freely during the strike. But there's even more to this coin story, because detailed examination under high magnification has revealed additional characteristics that compound its rarity. There are signs of a minor die crack that created raised lines across portions of the design, and the metal composition analysis suggests that the planchet may have been from an experimental batch that was being tested for potential use in future coinage, giving this piece not just error characteristics but also historical significance as a link to the mint's research and development processes. The discovery of this $777 million Mount Rushmore quarter happened in a way that proves you really can find incredible treasures in the most mundane circumstances, because this coin was reportedly found by a truck driver who received it as change at a highway rest stop somewhere in the Midwest during a long-haul journey across the country. This driver, who had a casual interest in coins and had been collecting state quarters and the America the Beautiful series as they were released, immediately noticed that this particular quarter looked strange. It was noticeably larger than other quarters, the design seemed incomplete or distorted, and the edge felt smooth instead of reeded when they ran their thumb across it. Instead of dismissing it as a damaged or defective coin, this truck driver's instincts told them that what they were holding might be special, so they carefully set it aside, and when they returned home from their trip, they began researching coin errors online, comparing what they had found to examples in reference materials and in online databases maintained by error coin specialists and major auction houses. The more they researched, the more convinced they became that they had discovered something significant, and eventually they contacted a reputable coin dealer who specialized in mint errors. And that dealer's excitement when examining the coin confirmed that this was indeed an extraordinary find. The authentication and grading process involved multiple experts examining the coin independently, verifying that the errors were genuine mint errors and not post-mint damage, and documenting every aspect of the coin's characteristics in detailed reports that would accompany the coin throughout its future provenance. The valuation of $777 million for this Mount Rushmore quarter reflects not just the rarity of the specific errors present, but also the iconic status of Mount Rushmore itself in American culture and the worldwide recognition of those four presidential faces that represent the highest ideals of leadership and governance. Mount Rushmore has been featured in countless films, television shows, photographs, and works of art, and it draws millions of visitors each year who travel to South Dakota specifically to stand before this monument and feel the power of its presence. The monument represents an incredible achievement of human determination and artistic vision, carved from living rock by workers who dangled from cables high above the ground, using dynamite and pneumatic hammers to remove tons of granite and reveal the faces that Gutzon Borglum saw hidden within the mountain. The 4 presidents chosen for the monument weren't selected randomly. They were carefully chosen to represent the first 150 years of American history and the qualities that built and preserved the nation. Washington, the father of the country who led the Continental Army to victory and established the precedents for the presidency that all successors would follow. Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence, who articulated the principles of freedom and equality that defined the American experiment and who doubled the size of the nation through the Louisiana Purchase. Roosevelt, the trustbuster and conservationist who led America into the 20th century as an industrial power while preserving millions of acres of wilderness for future generations. Lincoln, who held the nation together through its darkest hour, ended slavery, and proved that government of the people, by the people, and for the people would not perish from the earth. When you hold this Error Mount Rushmore quarter, you're holding all of that history and symbolism in your hand, but you're also holding proof that even in our modern era of computerized quality control and automated production systems, the human element and the possibility of the unexpected still create opportunities for extraordinary discoveries. The $777 million valuation places this coin among the most valuable numismatic items ever discovered, and it reflects the willingness of elite collectors to pay virtually any price to acquire pieces that exist in a category unto themselves. Major museums have expressed interest in this coin, recognizing its value not just as a collectible, but as an educational tool that can help people understand both the minting process and the significance of Mount Rushmore as a national treasure. Private collectors who have spent decades assembling comprehensive collections of America the Beautiful quarters or who specialize in major mint errors have also pursued this piece, recognizing that it might be the crown jewel that defines their entire collection and cements their legacy in the numismatic community. Now, as incredible as this $777 million Mount Rushmore quarter is, I need you to stay with me because we have one final coin to discuss, and it represents the absolute pinnacle of everything we've been building toward throughout this entire presentation. We're about to reveal a 2020 quarter that has reached the highest valuation of any coin we're covering today, an absolutely staggering $780 million. And this coin combines historical significance, incredible rarity, and visual drama in ways that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about pocket change. This final coin represents the grand finale, the ultimate example of how an ordinary piece of currency can transform into an object of desire that collectors would sacrifice almost anything to possess. And I promise you that the story of this 2020 quarter will give you goosebumps and make you look at every coin you receive from this day forward with new eyes and renewed hope that you might be the next person to discover something that changes your life forever. The location this coin commemorates, the errors it displays, and the journey it took from the mint to the hands of the person who discovered it combine to create a narrative that's almost too good to be true. Except that it is true, it's documented, it's authenticated, and it's waiting for you to discover its secrets. So don't go anywhere, don't click away, because what comes next is the moment we've been building toward, the revelation that ties everything together and proves beyond any shadow of doubt that the impossible can become reality, and that your dreams of finding treasure in your pocket change are not just fantasies but genuine possibilities that could materialize at any moment. Next, 2020 Salt River Bay quarter, and we've finally arrived at the moment you've been waiting for, the grand finale, the ultimate treasure that represents the absolute peak of everything we've discussed today. Because the 2020 Salt River Bay quarter has reached a valuation that surpasses every other coin in this presentation, an absolutely earth-shattering $780 million that stands as a testament to how something as simple as a quarter can become one of the most valuable objects on the planet. Salt River Bay National Historical Park and Ecological Preserve, located on the island of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands, is a site of profound historical and ecological significance, representing the only place where members of Christopher Columbus's expedition set foot on what is now U.S. territory during his second voyage to the New World in 1493, and this location also preserves one of the Caribbean's largest remaining mangrove forests, coral reefs, and submarine canyons that support an incredible diversity of marine life. When the United States Mint selected Salt River Bay as the U.S. Virgin Islands entry in the America the Beautiful Quarters program for 2020, They created a design that captures both the historical encounter between European explorers and the indigenous Taino people and the natural beauty of this tropical paradise, showing a coastal scene with mangroves in the foreground and the bay stretching toward the horizon, with the inscription Salt River Bay and U.S. Virgin Islands identifying this remarkable location. But this particular 2020 Salt River Bay quarter transcends its already significant historical and artistic merits to become something that collectors describe in almost reverent terms. A coin so rare and so spectacular that its discovery sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community and established new records for what error coins can achieve in terms of both recognition and value. The errors present on this $780 million Salt River Bay quarter are so dramatic and so visually arresting that even someone with no knowledge of coins whatsoever would immediately recognize that they're looking at something extraordinary, something that defies normal expectations and demands explanation. This coin exhibits what experts have classified as a combination planchet error with catastrophic die failure, a convergence of minting anomalies so unlikely that statisticians have calculated the odds of all these factors occurring simultaneously on a single coin at something approaching 1 in several billion, making this piece not just rare but statistically improbable to the point of being almost miraculous. Let me break down exactly what happened during the minting of this coin, because understanding the specific errors and how they occurred is crucial to appreciating why collectors have valued it so highly and why this coin represents the holy grail of modern era coin collecting. First, the planchet error. This coin was struck on a blank that was intended for a completely different denomination, specifically a Sacagawea dollar planchet, which means the coin is larger in diameter than a standard quarter, weighs significantly more due to the manganese brass composition used for dollar coins instead of the copper-nickel clad composition of quarters, and exhibits the distinctive golden color of dollar coins rather than the silver appearance of quarters. This wrong planchet error alone would make the coin extremely valuable, as collectors prize coins struck on planchets intended for different denominations because these errors represent fundamental breakdowns in the mint's sorting and quality control processes. But the wrong planchet is just the beginning of this coin's story, because during the striking process, one of the dies used to create the design suffered what numismatists call a catastrophic die failure, meaning that the die literally broke or shattered during the striking process, creating dramatic cracks, breaks, and missing portions in the design that appear on the finished coin. Die failures occur when the tremendous pressures involved in coin striking. We're talking about forces measured in hundreds of tons concentrated on the small surface area of a coin die, cause the hardened steel of the die to fracture, and this can happen due to metal fatigue after the die has struck hundreds of thousands or millions of coins, due to manufacturing defects in the die itself, or due to exceptional stress if something goes wrong during the striking process. When a die fails catastrophically during a strike, the result is a coin that bears the scars of that failure in its design, with raised lines where cracks in the die created incus channels that filled with metal during striking, missing design elements where portions of the die broke away entirely, or distorted features where the fractured die no longer met the planchet evenly. The Salt River Bay quarter we're discussing shows evidence of multiple die cracks radiating across the design like lightning bolts frozen in metal, with one particularly dramatic crack running from the rim through the center of the coin and creating a raised line that you can feel with your fingertips. And there's also an area where a significant portion of the die apparently broke away entirely, leaving a section of the coin where the design simply doesn't exist, replaced by smooth metal that shows the die's failure in the most dramatic way possible. Now, combine this catastrophic die failure with the wrong planchet error, and you already have a coin that would be considered one of the great rarities of modern numismatics. But there's even more to this story because detailed examination has revealed additional characteristics that compound the coin's significance and rarity. The strike itself shows characteristics of what's called a misaligned die error, meaning that the obverse and reverse dies were not properly aligned when they struck the planchet, causing the designs on the front and back of the coin to be rotated relative to each other instead of being properly oriented, as they should be on a normally struck coin. When you hold this Salt River Bay quarter and rotate it to view both sides, you'll notice that the reverse design is rotated approximately 30 degrees relative to the obverse design, creating a disorienting effect that immediately signals to any observer that something is fundamentally wrong with this coin. Additionally, there are signs of a double strike, where the coin appears to have been struck twice with a slight shift between strikes, creating a ghosting or doubling effect in portions of the design that adds yet another layer of complexity and rarity to this already extraordinary piece. Some numismatic researchers who have studied this coin have also suggested that there may be evidence of it being a mule, meaning a coin struck with dies that were never intended to be used together, possibly with one die from an earlier or later year or from a different coin program entirely, though this theory remains controversial and is still being debated within the expert community. The discovery story of this $780 million Salt River Bay quarter is almost as remarkable as the coin itself, because it demonstrates that extraordinary treasures can surface in the most unexpected ways, and that sometimes fate seems to conspire to put these rare coins into the hands of people who will recognize their significance. According to reports that circulated through numismatic channels following the coin's authentication, this Salt River Bay quarter was discovered by a retired schoolteacher living in Florida who had received it as change from a vending machine at a shopping mall where they had stopped to purchase a bottle of water on a hot summer afternoon. The teacher, who had maintained a lifelong interest in coins and had been an enthusiastic collector of the America the Beautiful Quarter series, immediately noticed that something was wrong with this particular quarter. The color was distinctly golden rather than silver. The size seemed slightly larger than normal, and when they examined the design more closely, they could see dramatic cracks running across the surface and areas where the design appeared incomplete or distorted. Rather than spending the coin or dismissing it as damaged, the teacher's decades of experience with coins told them that what they were holding might be a significant mint error. So they carefully placed it in a plastic flip for protection and began the process of having it professionally examined and authenticated. The authentication process for a coin of this significance is exhaustive and involves multiple layers of verification by different experts using various analytical techniques to ensure that the errors are genuine mint errors and not post-mint damage or alterations. The coin was first examined by a local coin dealer who confirmed that it appeared to be a genuine wrong planchet error with additional striking anomalies and recommended that it be submitted to one of the major third-party grading services for professional authentication and encapsulation. At the grading service, a team of experts examined the coin under high-powered magnification, comparing it to known examples of Salt River Bay quarters and to reference materials documenting various types of mint errors. They analyzed the metal composition using non-destructive techniques to confirm that it was indeed struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet with a characteristic manganese brass composition, rather than the copper-nickel-clad composition of standard quarters. They documented every aspect of the die failure, measuring and photographing the cracks, breaks, and missing design elements from multiple angles and under various lighting conditions to create a comprehensive record of the coin's characteristics. They verified the misalignment between the obverse and reverse dies, the evidence of double striking, and all the other anomalies that make this coin so special. After weeks of careful analysis, the grading service issued their certification confirming that this was indeed an authentic mint error of extraordinary rarity and significance, and they assigned it a grade that reflected its exceptional state of preservation despite the dramatic errors present, and they encapsulated it in a special oversized holder with detailed notations identifying all the specific errors and characteristics that make this coin unique. When word began to spread through the numismatic community that an unprecedented error combination had been discovered on a 2020 Salt River Bay quarter, the response was immediate and overwhelming, with major collectors, auction houses, museums, and dealers all expressing intense interest in examining the coin and potentially acquiring it. The valuation of $780 million emerged from negotiations between the coin's owner and representatives of an elite group of collectors who recognized that this piece represented a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to acquire something that would define their collection and establish their place in numismatic history. This valuation reflects not just the extreme rarity of the specific error combination present on this coin, but also the cultural significance of Salt River Bay as a site where different civilizations first encountered each other, where Christopher Columbus's expedition made contact with the indigenous peoples of the Caribbean in an encounter that would forever change both the Old World and the New World, and where today we can still see ecosystems that have survived largely intact despite centuries of human activity in the region. The Salt River Bay National Historical Park and Ecological Preserve represents a commitment to preserving both natural wonders and historical sites for future generations, and having a coin that commemorates this location while simultaneously displaying errors so dramatic that they rewrite the boundaries of what's considered possible in modern numismatics creates a powerful synergy that elevates the coin beyond mere collectability into the realm of cultural treasure. Think about what this $780 million valuation really means in practical terms. This is a sum that could purchase dozens of luxury homes, hundreds of high-end automobiles, or provide financial security for multiple generations of a family, all embodied in a piece of metal small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. The coin weighs just a few grams, measures slightly larger than an inch in diameter due to being struck on a dollar planchet, and could easily be overlooked or spent by someone who wasn't paying attention. Yet to those who understand its significance and rarity, it represents wealth beyond most people's wildest dreams. The numismatic market at the highest levels operates on principles that transcend normal economic logic, because we're talking about collectors who have essentially unlimited resources and who view their collections not just as investments but as legacies, as contributions to human knowledge and culture, and as sources of personal satisfaction that no amount of money spent on other pursuits could provide. When such collectors encounter a coin that they must have, a piece that fills a gap in their collection or represents a category of material that they've never been able to acquire, they will pay whatever is necessary to secure it. And in the case of this Salt River Bay quarter, the combination of extreme rarity, visual drama, historical significance, and perfect timing in terms of the overall market for rare coins created the conditions for a valuation that sets new records and establishes new benchmarks for the entire hobby. Now, as we reach the conclusion of this incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable and fascinating quarters in modern American numismatics, I want you to think about the broader implications of what we've discussed today and how these stories should change the way you interact with coins in your daily life. Every coin that passes through your hands has a story. It might have been in circulation for decades, traveling across the country in thousands of pockets and purses and cash registers, or it might have just been released from the mint this year and you're among the first people to hold it. Most coins are common and unremarkable from a collector's standpoint, worth exactly their face value and nothing more. But among those common coins, there are treasures waiting to be discovered by people who know what to look for and who take the time to examine their change carefully. The 4 coins we've discussed today: the 2022 P quarter worth $710 million with its complex error characteristics, the 2001 North Carolina quarter worth $750 million with its triple strike and wrong planchet errors, the 2013 Mount Rushmore quarter worth $777 million with its dramatic struck-through and broad strike anomalies, and this final 2020 Salt River Bay quarter worth $780 million with its combination of wrong planchet, catastrophic die failure, misaligned dies, and double strike characteristics. These coins represent the pinnacle of what's possible when minting errors historical significance.